I think yesterday was one of those days where there's so much happening that it was a bit overwhelming for a lot of us. And to no one's surprise, when there is usually drama rampant in the Smash scene, in some ways, Nintendo is usually involved. But this time it was a bit different. Go over this and give you my take on the following. I know you've probably already seen it before, but I want to explain to you what I feel about all this. Obviously, the 2023 Smash World Tour was canceled. From what you saw yesterday, it came as a shock and surprise to basically everyone, and we were all very, very confused. And this right here is the open letter, the official statement from the Smash World Tour, explaining what happened. The night before Thanksgiving, we received notice from Nintendo that we could no longer operate. Shocking, given our discourse with Nintendo at the past 12 months, and now they've made this statement. We're grateful for the support. They had 6,400 live events, over 325,000 in-person entrants. It's the largest esports tour in history for any game title. I repeat, the largest esports tour in history for any game title. Smash World Tour had a $250,000 prize pool, and 2023 was scheduled to have a $350,000 prize pool. Massive, massive history-making prize pools for Smash Bros. And of course, it's all taken away. It involved everyone, organizers, competitors, fans, players like myself. We were all involved, and everyone was working very, very hard. And they basically went into this idea of a full global tour after all the downsides the pandemic gave to us. This was supposed to be our big bounce back. Everyone's getting refunded. They're making sure that they do everything in the right way. They're helping with travel arrangements, and mind you, they're already losing like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this is just incredibly nice of them to do. So this part right here is jarring. The truth is, what makes us all more disappointing is the approach Nintendo took in recent weeks compared to our discourse with them over the past 12 months. We truly believe things were progressing positively for quite some time. We kept it all quiet, but especially of light of both Nintendo and the partner Panda's actions this year, we wanted to take the opportunity to write an open letter to Nintendo, as we don't know how much the higher-ups at Nintendo are even aware of the history and context of the last few years. And of course, it's very, very hard to get that communication with Big N. We want to preface there's some great people working at Nintendo who have been advocating for the Smash community and Smash World Tour, even if that was not reflected in Nintendo's recent actions. So they're still kind of going to bat for Nintendo, some of the people at Nintendo, and I have no doubt there's probably good eggs here. And again, a decision is always trickles down. So you can't blame one person at Nintendo for all of it, but there's still a lot of uncovering that needs to happen. Likewise, we have nothing but the utmost respect for Panda's team, players, ambassadors, employees, and contractors, many of which were our friends and are truly incredible. To our understanding, had little to zero knowledge of the damage Panda caused behind the scenes last year. Little to zero knowledge of the damage Panda caused behind the scenes last year. And of course, this would refer to the higher-ups at Panda, Dr. Allen, and who knows who else. But basically, November 21, Panda Cup was announced. Nintendo contacted us, jumping a call, including a rep from their legal team. We thought we might be getting shut down given the fact that they were a licensed competing circuit and a partner in Panda. But it was the opposite. They wanted to actually see if they were interested in working with them and pursuing a license as well. Which, look at that, lo and behold. They made it clear that Panda's partnership was not exclusive, and then they said it had not gone unnoticed that we had not infringed on their IP regarding game modifications and represented Nintendo's value as well. So you might notice during the Smash World Tour that we had certain things we had to do, couldn't use certain stages, couldn't use certain music, but because of that and, how they sort of navigated through that, Nintendo was happy to see that. So that's one of the reasons they did good in their eyes, right? Of course, in-game modifications were the primary concern in regards to coming down on events, which also made sense to us given their enforcement over the past few years in that regard. Rest in peace, Project M. The lengthy conversion changed our perspective at Nintendo at a macro level, so it was a good thing. They cleared the air on a lot of things. They explained why there was problems with them in Nintendo, and we truly believe Nintendo was taking a hard look at the relationship with the community and ways to get involved in a positive manner. Look at that. They went into the championships a lot more confident. They were still skeptical. We always wondered what was going to happen next year. The aim was to get licensed before the 2022 tour that was announced and kicked off in March. They kept talking with them throughout the time. Nintendo was being consistently straightforward, transparent. We also began filing the details of the 2022 Smash World Tour with various TOs, this time with more confidence than ever. However, we quickly found out that many organizers were concerned about joining up in 2022. They told us that they had been told by Alan, the CEO and co-founder of Panda, that we were going to get shut down and not coming back in 2022. Of course, this directly contradicted our conversations with Nintendo, but we felt we couldn't defend ourselves properly to organizers because we felt that our conversations with Nintendo should be kept private until we had our seemingly imminent license deal. So once I talked to Nintendo, they thought it was all good. Panda, Alan from Panda, comes out of nowhere and says, no, you're not good. Your shit's going to get canceled next year. And so, of course, Smash World Tour gets confused about this, right? They went to Nintendo, and they were sympathetic to our situation. These 4 things, right? Nintendo is only looking to shut down IP infringement to game mods, not the unlicensed World Tour. The Panda CEO does not represent Nintendo, and they would have to have a conversation about this behavior. 3, they reminded and reassured us that Panda's license is not exclusive, and they can see the 2 circuits coexisting. Number 4, Nintendo's goal was not to gatekeep or trap the community, and that license guidelines would be accessible and clear. So from what it sounds like right here, this is Nintendo seemed to have some semblance of a right idea at first, maybe in the first half of the year. And this is where you start to slowly uncover things, right? It bolstered our confidence. We submitted our application, and it was fine. Even though they did all that and they felt good again, Panda, the CEO, Alan, continued to tell organizers we were not coming back, and if we did, we'd get shut down shortly after our announcement. And organizers were told that their individual events would also be at risk if they were on the Smash World Tour. A few organizers told us directly as a primary reason that they did not participate in the tour this year. We completely understood. So other smaller individual events did not join the Smash World Tour because they didn't want to be cease and desisted by Nintendo. We didn't want organizers to feel like it would add any risk to the Smash World Tour, even if we believed that behind the scenes everything was okay, based upon what Nintendo had told us directly. Nintendo's response to our application came up slowly. They reached out in March. There was back and forth. We kept Nintendo in the loop of our announcement plans, but we understandably ran out of time with the formal license. So they did not get it in time. The application went into limbo. There was some legal issues with it. They knew it was going to take a while. We discussed other approaches. And Nintendo recommended at this stage to apply for a single event license for our December championships, which would also help to get the ball rolling to start working on 2023 with a much longer lead time. All right. So hopefully you guys have kept up with this until now. Around the same time, Panda Cup began heavily recruiting events for their own circuit. CEO continued to tell organizers would be getting shut down shortly, and also added that any events participating in the Panda Cup would not be allowed to be on the Smash World Tour. Again, we're talking about Nintendo is saying one thing where it's not exclusive. Panda Cup is saying it is exclusive. It was surprising, of course, because Nintendo regarded coexisting and that there was 0 issues. So from what it all sounds like, this all came as issues from Panda. At first, Panda wanted events that were not on the Smash World Tour. Few of those events even had broadcast deals with the popular tournament broadcaster BTS. CEO of Panda wanted the broadcasting rights to be included as part of the deal of the events joining Panda Cup. Most of the events refused to pay their contracts, so Panda approached Beyond the Summit directly to try and get the rights released. And right, these broadcast rights with Twitch are a big deal, especially for BTS, which has huge, massive events. BTS had very little motivation to give out the broadcast rights for free, so then it declined to get involved, causing the CEO of Panda to escalate things quickly. We were made a variety of threats to BTS, including shutting down their entire Smash operation in 2023 if they did not eventually join Panda Cup. BTS held firm. The CEO of Panda warned that they would get Nintendo directly involved, putting broadcast rights for all tournaments in jeopardy, right? It's a slippery slope. It starts with one event, it starts with one broadcaster, but this sets a precedent which causes the domino effect to everything else. This is where it gets scary, because if they shut down BTS, anything else could happen. Most events with BTS broadcasting chose to side with BTS and did not join the Panda Cup after all of the turmoil. During all this, we kept an open line with Nintendo as we prepared for our submission of the event. We also expressed our serious concern about how Panda was talking to the community organizers and the lack of ethics in how they approached Beyond the Summit. We felt a line had been crossed that cannot be ignored. Again, we are reassured the CEO of Panda does not speak for Nintendo and that they were frustrated with all the factoring happening behind the scenes due to this behavior. They're hearing completely different things from Alan at Panda versus the reps they have at Nintendo. Completely different, disputing things, which I'm not surprised now why they were so damn confused. This would just be frustrating for me, even at this regard. They even discussed the new application, changing the name of the Smash World Tour. There's an NDA, so I can't say much, but we submitted it on April 9th, 2022. After many events declined, Panda had no choice but to pursue events that were already on the Smash World Tour, meaning they would have to drop off the Smash World Tour mid-season to join Panda Cup. For many organizers, this was a deal-breaker, as they saw no reason that their event could not have points count towards both circuits. They were also concerned that more fracturing could occur. At this point, Panda Cup was not left with many events of their circuit. However, at some point in April, the exclusivity rule changed, and the events became eligible to be both on the Smash World Tour and the Panda Cup. And additionally, multiple events were then issued Nintendo licenses very quickly after the events were publicly announced. So the Nintendo said this wasn't possible, but then suddenly it was possible, and it was just very, very odd for it to happen out of nowhere. They announced the Panda Cup, and when the Panda Cup was announced, the communication slowed down with Nintendo because we were waiting for the next steps regarding the December Championships and the Smash World Tour. They were very slow to respond to many bumps. It's a big red flag, even though they were aware. We continued to push back on the announcement for the championships in the hopes that following Nintendo's directives will help our relationship planning for 2023. No response for months. We felt we had no choice but to announce the championships in August. Nintendo finally responded, mentioned the team was incredibly busy. They were apologetic and said they completely understood the way to announce. They mentioned the discussions have been slower, and there hadn't been any decision yet. We finally reconvened with Nintendo at the end of September after nearly 4 months of our submission. So this is an entire timeline of constant back and forth, right? They reassured us nothing had been decided. They reminded that the Panda Cup were under evaluation. The situation got complex. Organizers were concerned. Of course, the idea of tournaments having a license versus not having a license. Nintendo said things were getting out of hand regarding a timeline. They were frustrated, but again, they delayed it. And finally, we get here to the shutdown. They weren't able to reconvene until November, as in this month or last month. At this point, we were 1 month out. They said it had been a very complex issue navigating the planning for commercial licensing, but they were very empathetic to us feeling backburned, especially given the context of Panda Cup's messy inception and execution. They said there's many decision makers involved, and some had been advocating very hard for the community, the Smash World Tour, and the importance to grassroots organizers. It's big. So Nintendo themselves, the reps there, said that they wanted to make these people happy, grassroots organizers happy. They wanted to meet with the decision makers. They were worried that we're in the full context. They said that we could do. And the last meeting, November 23rd, was the most recent call. The Nintendo rep opened by letting us know that they are being asked to deliver the news that going forward, Nintendo expects us to only operate with a commercial license and that we would not be granted one for the upcoming championships or any activity in 2023. We received this in writing as well. They're being asked to deliver the news. Nintendo expects us to only operate with a commercial license, which essentially shuts down the event. We asked if they could clarify the reasoning. Nintendo gave us a reason that seemed to be misinformed. They weren't able to give more specifics. This was frustrating because everything, went to shit at this point. As a last effort, we asked if we can continue running the championships and tour next year without a license and shift our focus to working with them in 2024. Sort of the same way last year functioned. We were told directly that those times are now over. That is ominous. It was being shut down for real. This took place the night before Thanksgiving. We've been working on the clock ever since. And of course, apologies to everyone involved. It's just awful, honestly. And to conclude, they're sorry it all happened. It was all the progress had been abruptly reversed. It's a massive risk to burn that bridge or they don't want to make an expose on Nintendo. From what it seems, until a certain point, Nintendo was being communicative. They were going back and forth on emails. They were, making sure they were very going through the process of the way they had to do to make sure everyone was happy. It seems that only after the Panda Cup got announced did the communication get more difficult, and suddenly the agreements and the requirements changed. So the timing there is very suspect, I gotta say. This truly is an open letter. We're generally unsure how Nintendo is aware, and we're hoping they'll reconsider their approach to the grassroots community. We all love this community so much and have tried to represent Nintendo. We all share it with millions of fans worldwide. Their goal is to make both community and commercial licensing accessible and transparent in regards to the requirements. They also made it clear that their goal was not to shut anything down unless violations were made against IP, utilizing game mods of that nature. And now it has reverted back to being very secretive, no guidelines, and a willingness to shut down community efforts. Ugh. It's just fucked, man. It's just fucked. Every time we get so close to greatness for an actual circuit, something happens to blindside it. And I guess for me, the really shocking and understated part was the fact that it came from what seems to be, someone that I would have figured had the best interest of the community at hand. Now, this is someone that I was friends with for a long time and worked alongside for a long time, and someone that I sort of want like a full answer from before I jump to like a certain conclusion. But as it stands, like right now, if everything that I'm hearing is true, if this was sort of a idea for, Alan, the CEO of Panda, to blindside the other grassroots tournaments of the scene in order to make the Panda Cup prosper for the sake of his agreement with Nintendo. Like, if that's all the case, I mean, it's some of the worst news we could have been dealt. Because I can only imagine the agreement that Nintendo and Panda has is probably a very lucrative one. I have no doubt at all. In fact, I assume that agreement alone is probably, the biggest part of what Panda is currently. What we all initially thought was going to be a good thing for the community, especially me. I mean, we've seen the tweets already. When they announced the Panda Cup would be, I think, sanctioned by Nintendo, and it would be one that's, in a sense, supported by Nintendo, or sort of them, finally stepping foot into the community the way we always wanted them to. On paper, that idea seems good. It seems promising. On paper, we all thought this was the next step of things to come. But I don't think any of us realized what that would entail. Well, not any of us. A few people kind of called it on the head. I think one of them that comes to mind is Blur. A number of select others, people who really understood the machinations and understood what goes on behind the scenes in order for circuits to happen, or of course, more importantly, for circuits to not happen, and the powers pulling and pushing what they have to do in order for those things to or to not happen. But here we are. I actually had a social media break yesterday, so I was trying to not be online very often because it's good for my mental health. And I see all this happening, and I see everyone saying, well, what's Hbox going to say? Well, here's what I'm going to say. There's two scenarios here, and two possible ways this goes. It's either A, this was Nintendo's order, and Alan had no choice but to do what Nintendo wanted for the Panda Cup to succeed, which is shitty. Or B, this was sort of Nintendo's order, but more so it was Alan on Panda who wanted to have the sole rights to all streamed Smash, tournaments for a certain year. Which, if that's the case, is also shitty, if not way, way, way more shitty. And I'm confused. I'm personally confused because what is there really to, be gained that you don't already have? If I'm Alan and I have an agreement with Nintendo to run this circuit, what more does getting rid of the other circuit do for you, apart from having right now this horrible, horrible PR disaster, potentially even the distrust of your own players now, and then, sort of anything related to Panda, even the PGR, the videos, all the programming they had, now marred by this decision, There was so much promise to what they could have been doing. There was promise to making the controller. There was promise to, having all these individual projects support independent TOs, all these ways that creators and editors and casters could make a living for their work. Panda wasn't just, signing a few players. There was a staff, the team of people that's, paid by what they can do. And, of course, running an esports organization is not easy at all, right? I'm happy to have been with Liquid because Liquid really always tries to do the best for all their players and staff involved. And from what I'm understanding, the vast majority of people at Panda were not aware of this decision, nor were they aware of the fact that it was something that was already going to be made and set in stone. Um, Granted, I've spoken to a few people here and there about what was going on, but like, it's just sad at this point. It's sad that we every time we seem to have a good thing like finally going for us, it just takes one wrong decision or one person's greed or one person who wants to have more control of things than they should, or one higher up at a company to just ruin the entire philosophy, to just ruin the entire idea, and to put a lot of people in the community, not just out of a fun experience, not just out of a thing of pride like getting rank 1, but out of work too. Of course, you on top of this, you put the whole fact that, players or casters, for instance, aren't able to work anymore because they were previously casting PM events, which blacklists them from Nintendo events. And from what it seems like, Panda/Nintendo events might be the only ones left for the circuit in 2023. There is so much more that is lost at hand when you have decisions like this dictating the entire future and fate of the community. Is there more to the story that I don't know? Or is kind of, is the writing on the wall? Is everything that we're hearing true? And was this really just the results of one person trying to get too power hungry within the community? If that's the case, then yeah, I can't support it. I can't support, the CEO of an org who, if that really was the case, undermines and undercuts and pretty much essentially removes so many of the grassroots events which happened this year. The scarier part about all this is that, of course, due to the legal, if you look at the actual laws regarding what Nintendo can and can't do, nothing, and I mean nothing, is stopping Nintendo from saying to every single tournament that happens within the year, you can't broadcast our game. You can't do that. They did it for EVO, and they could have just let that decision stick. They could have just not given a shit. But they saw the PR crisis, and PR is important for companies because companies want money and PR hurts sales. They saw that and they quickly overturned this decision. That was 9 years ago. I can't help but feel we're in a similar spot right here, where, and we saw just recently. Again, I am just filming this like this is the early AM of Wednesday right now, Wednesday morning. I am just now filming this, knowing what I know and opening social media and figuring out what I found. Apparently, Nintendo never gave an explicit order of cancellation to Smash World Tour Championships 2022 or the events in 2023. That's what a spokesperson said, and then, of course, that completely, rebukes what was initially said, and now it's becoming like a he said, she said sort of thing. In any case, like, this is all extremely, extremely confusing, and I, like anyone else, just want the truth. I just want the answers here, and I want to make sure everyone can prosper from an opportunity like this, instead of apparently everything going to shit. Everything that we've worked for now suddenly being chipped away piece by piece, part by part, until there is no Smash Bros left, until there is no competitive integrity left, and it's just the one corporation who owns the game laughing their ways to the bank, to the misery and dismay of hundreds of thousands of people, which make up one of the most bustling and unique communities the world of video games has ever seen, myself included. And I run the Coinbox. Can Nintendo just hop in and at any point just say, we don't want the Coinbox anymore? We don't want this to be what online looks for us anymore? I don't know where to point the finger at Alan with Panda or with Nintendo. I'm just odd. I want answers as much as you guys do, and I want to see what will come of this. I guess I'm waiting for the statement or further statement on both sides. I applaud Smash World Tour and their transparency with what happened. I also applaud BTS and their transparency. That's what we need, like, right now. And in terms of myself, like, I mean, what can I say? I want to compete first and foremost. I really wanted rank 1. I was really looking forward to Smash World Tour. I was really looking forward to attending Panda. But it seems like even being in that building now, being in the LA Convention Center on that day, there's going to be a strange atmosphere. There's going to be just this, if nothing is said, of course, which I'm sure something has to be said. Something has to be put into the ground, which gives us a little bit of direction as to what actually happened. You know? It's like, I don't know. I saw Alan at a Lost Tech City, and he was talking about his excitement for the circuit and all that, and everything seemed fine. And just like out of nowhere, all this stuff comes out, and you know, what if he comes tomorrow and then he says, actually, I was not behind any of this. This is what actually happened. Then what the fuck do we think? But according to the testimonials and stories of people like Mikey and LD at BTS, it does seem right now telling that Alan apparently, you know, tried to strong arm his way and scare the other people into joining the circuit, whether they wanted to or not, which is just not cool. It's not good. It's not a proper way to, you know, promote business practice, and it's not a proper way to make any progress within the Smash community. I like what we've built. I like what we had so far, and I don't want to lose something that has been so important to me for my entire life. I mean, it's my whole life at this point, and for a lot of people watching, you know, both professional or just casual, I'm sure Smash Bros. Makes an integral part of their life too. But it comes to the case where this is something where the standard is you cannot host any tournament for Smash Bros. Without Nintendo's blessing, without that you know, a contract being specified. It's just sad, and that just takes away the entire point of what grassroots actually means. And yeah, as someone who was Alan's friend and wanted to work with him, it just hurts. I don't understand why any person of the right mind, let alone a professional, would see this as a potential gain and not realizing the massive offset that it would do by, you know, getting the entire community against you, not on your side, and not wanting them to attend any event at all. And guess what? Without the players, without the pro players, without the mid-tier players, without the casuals, the 0-2ers, without the TOs, without the artists, the commentators, the editors, without everyone who is the in-between, the people in between the lines. Without them, there are no events. Without no events, there is no circuit, and there is no Panda Cup. So next time you're someone trying to, you know, create a monopoly of Smash for themselves, just realize it's not really a monopoly if you can't own a single thing, is it? Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I'm hoping for transparency. I'm gladly going to make a follow-up video to this. But as of right now, all I can say is I'm heartbroken about it. It sucks. I feel like the Smash Bros. Community is cursed at this point. With the amount of shit that seems to come from any direction whenever anything good happens, I just hope I can still be competing when the day finally comes where we're taken seriously and we're treated as an esport the way we always should have been, with proper dev support and proper functioning members and leaders of this community. Thank you.